Budapest. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. How about you?
Fantastic. I just want to mention about this post I saw from GSP.
Yeah,
And he said that, GSP would like to see Chimaev fight the winner of second fight of Kamaru Usman against Leon Edwards.
right.
My initial thought was like, yeah, cool, it will be an awesome fight. But how come Chimaev just wants to reap the benefits of them killing each other? Like let's see, Usman. He's been reigning on the top for a long time, fighting a lot of good
Mm,
fighters, right?
mm.
And then Chimaev is going to jump all over that, and no, let him fucking.
Yeah, but
What did
if you
he
if
post
if
to
you think
Leon
about
Edwards?
it, like Chimaev is already ranked number 3 in the welterweight division, right? I mean, he beat Gilbert Burns. Now he beat Kevin Holland very easily. So it's. I think, yeah, maybe he should fight Colby Covington before that, and then
Well,
the winner of that fight, gets to fight the winner of Usman and Edwards. I think, yeah, that would be the right thing. But I wouldn't be too upset if Chimaev gets the winner immediately, honestly.
yeah, I don't think it works. It should work that way. Fight world is nothing's fair, but in my opinion, uh, he doesn't even have the belt. He shouldn't even be fighting for any title shots. He should have like Colby Covington, and then if he wins that, maybe he should get a shot at Leon Edwards. And Leon Edwards, he also needs to fucking defend his belt a couple of times to prove that he's like pound for pound headshot champion.
Well,
And
but you, so
after,
you
please let
think,
me finish. Let me finish this one, right?
all right.
Because if Leon Edwards takes Chimaev, of course he should be the fucking best, right? And then
Mhm.
Chimaev knows, like every fighter has experienced loss, and he will too. He will too. So if he fights Leon Edwards, if he fights Colby Covington first, then Leon Edwards, and then if he wins Leon Edwards, then he fight Usman. Usman has had so many title defenses, and then and then
Mhm.
and then they're gonna just throw him to the wolves, literally fight a wolf, and then Leon is gonna for what? No, let him fucking get the shot at the title at the top first, because
Who you mean?
come
You
on,
mean Usman?
no, Usman, let Usman fucking rest on the ropes a little bit.
So who do you think Leon Edwards should fight now?
Well, I would love to see Colby Covington and Chimaev, and then I would love to see Chimaev against Leon. That's what I
Right.
would like
If
to see.
Chimaev wins against Colby Covington,
Of
right?
course, of course. If not,
Yeah.
Colby Covington's back, and then we got a new.
Mm.
But
Well,
that's
I
not gonna
think I
happen.
think
That's not gonna happen. But then,
I think the logical matchmaking would be is that if Chimaev fights Colby Covington now, and
yeah.
Usman gets the rematch against Leon Edwards, and then whoever wins between Chimaev and Covington, gets to fight for the title, whether it's against Usman or Edwards, it doesn't
But
matter.
why are people so obsessed of having the rematch so fast?
Well, I'm not the type of person who would be obsessed about that, but Usman is definitely the one champion, like ex-champion, who really fucking deserves it, because as you mentioned, like, he had so many title
Yeah, but
defenses
that's
and
not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking. We're talking about giving Usman a rematch just in a little while. We're not talking about not giving him the rematch. We're talking about when giving him the rematch.
Mhm.
So why do
But
you rush it?
in your opinion, Usman should fight someone else before the rematch or get the rematch like immediate, like in his next fight?
Um, I think he should have his next fight to be Leon.
Right. So like next fight should be the rematch according to you.
Next fight for Usman should be the rematch.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that definitely.
But
Yeah.
the next match for Leon Edwards should not be the rematch. He
Mm-hmm.
needs to
No, I
fucking
get
do
it what you
like
mean,
4 or 5 title defenses, showing that he's fucking number one killer dog. Like, okay,
Mhm.
he was waiting 24 minutes before he knocked out Usman, right? People are saying luck. Then you see the videos after. We talked about this. We've seen that he had
Yeah.
skills. He was waiting. He was like patiently planning his fucking finishing technique, and he was able to execute it, right? And after
Yeah.
that happened, people saying, well, still maybe a little bit lucky. What's harder than doing it one time, several times? So let him
Mm-hmm.
show he's all that hype, all that energy, all that stuff. Let him
Mm-hmm.
maintain, let him feel what the king has felt before. The
Mm-hmm.
title defense, going to war 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times, 5, 6. How many title defenses does he have? Let him get a piece of that, and then he will meet the pound for pound. There's no question about it. If Leon Edwards,
Well, if he gets through, if he gets through his first title defense, which is not 100%, because if he meets, Colby Covington or Chimaev, they can easily. I'm not saying easily, but they can out wrestle him and they can take the title from him. So.
and then what do you want to see? You want to see Usman fight Leon again? No, the king answers to nobody. And this fucking moment, in my mind, Usman is the king, right? And he doesn't answer to whoever he lost against. He answers to the belt. Who has the belt? So, in my opinion, I want to rephrase myself. I want to say that Usman's next fight should be for the belt.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for
Regardless
sure.
if it's Chimaev, regardless of it's still Leon Edwards, right?
Yeah.
If you look at
Yeah, I agree. I
boxing,
agree with you on this one for
you
sure.
see you see that in the organization. They need time to grow as well. What you see now, UFC don't rush it too much. What do you want, Patty the Batty? This guy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So they don't rush him. They don't rush him to fucking do the belt fights.
Yeah.
They're
Because they
patient. They build
they
them
want to
up.
milk the cow, man.
No, they learn from boxing how to do it. If you throw somebody right straight like no, they got talent and you throw him in there, no, you got to build them up. You got to give him some fights. Well, he needs to grow on this,
Yeah, but
develop on
I
that.
think that what they do with Paddy, it definitely has to do with making money for the UFC, because the guy is, fucking popular, especially in the UK, but pretty much all over the world. And
Yeah,
like if they make him fight someone like, I don't know, who should I say in the lightweight division, like Benil Dariush, or someone from the top five, and then Paddy will lose, then UFC can't make money with him anymore. So I think it's just pure marketing that they are not pushing him too fast.
Oh, you're not saying that they're taking in consideration how he feels and if he wants to smell some flowers? Of course, it's a money machine. That's what they do. They promote fights, they make money, take money out of this equation. There would be no UFC, right? There would be no Dana White. So
That's
when it
right,
comes
man.
down to it,
So,
it's about building the fighters because what? You've seen the fights with Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor. How was the press tour on that? Going to Brazil, going to Ireland, going everywhere to promote this fucking fight. They've been
mm,
patiently building it up. People are looking forward to Christmas. It's like a one yearly big event, and everybody wants to tune in, right? Everybody's buying
that's right, man.
presents. Everybody was buying merchandise. On the wall behind me here, I have the octagon floor from the Jose Aldo fight against Conor McGregor. So of course they know how to make money. So my point here is, if we're looking at any kind of development in that division, this is how I see it. Leon Edwards needs to fight good fighters now to prove, to put the nail in the coffin, to ensure that he is the champion, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But he's definitely gonna fight good fighters, because
Colby
there is no
Covington,
there is
Chimaev,
no
do
easy
this.
fights
And
at
after
that
and
that that
after that,
levels.
after that, when he does that, after that, you see, okay, Jesus, he's developed. He's got the,
Mm,
the self-confidence. He's got the skills. He is the number one. And then you want Kamaru Usman to fight him. Then you
mm.
got the revenge fight. Then you got the
You think
Boa comeback.
you, you think he would get through Colby Covington though? Like, how do you think that would play out? Like Edwards against Covington.
Well, I just got to finish my rant about this stuff because, and then we get into it because it's a good question. But at the end of it, uh, Kamaru Usman, he has done so many times what Leon Edwards just did once, right?
Mm.
And I want to see Leon do the same thing at least maybe two times before he fights again. I want him to have title defense, proper ones, right? And then I want Usman to fight the champion who's holding the belt. If that's Chimaev, or if that's Covington, or is there anybody other in the league, it will be awesome. But the legacy and the impact on Usman is not Leon Edwards. It was just somebody who did their homework and took him out. And that's who he's fighting. He's fighting himself to return to that kind of attitude and the atmosphere that he was being so successful in. Leon
Mm.
Edwards is just a name for him. He's just like if he finds the spirit to do that again, oh man, it would be savage.
Mm. Well, let's see about that. I'm really curious, if Usman will be able to come back from this, because he was a pretty fucking devastating loss for him. I mean, to lose the title this way, last minute of the fight by a fucking head kick knockout. So, and he's also not very young. He's what, 35 now.
Now let's talk
So,
about the shit face Askren. How did he lose? Headbutting somebody's knee, that's
well,
a
but
that's a
that's what
stupid way to
I'm
lose
talking
a
about. That's,
fight.
that's why that's why I say it, because if like a lot of fighters, they lose this way, in an important match, and then they just not able to come back again, like Ben Askren, for example. Like, his career was finished when Masvidal fucking knocked him
His
out.
career was finished long before it started in the UFC. That sack of potatoes. So when it comes to this kind of a fight, what Usman did, he went toe to toe, actually dominating by points this fight, right? And then he was unlucky. Leon
Mhm.
Edward was not lucky. He executed a game plan. But what happened to if that went without that knockout, how do you think it would end?
You mean the
And
the
still, that's
Of course,
that you
of course.
Bruce Buffer. So to lose, imagine that. Imagine to go in a fight. You go toe to toe, 5 rounds, 5 minute rounds, and you're fighting, fighting. Everybody's like giving, you're taking, like you have a worthy opponent. You've been title defending a long time. You're like one of the African king reigning in the most difficult sport in the world. And then you're just unlucky in the end. You lose your focus for a split second, and you get knocked out in the last minute of the fight. After you know what you say? This is what you're gonna say. You know what? I'm happy with my performance. Hey,
Hmm.
every dog has its day. So, this
Hmm.
was his day. Congrats to him. When I'm recovered, when I feel fresh again, when I'm ready, and I am smart, I will pace myself. So when the time is right, I will return for the title shot. I don't give a shit if it's Leon Edwards. If he puts too much emphasize on Leon Edwards, then he's fighting a demon. He's making Leon much bigger than what he is. What is Leon?
Hmm.
How many title defenses does he have? How many? What's his record? He's not fighting that. He
Hmm.
doesn't give a shit about that. He just sees
No,
a
but
guy who has the belt, and I want to take it,
what
regardless
I
of the
was
place.
what I was saying about this is, that I'm just wondering, like, regardless of, forget Leon Edwards, like, let's just talk about Usman. That, like, you remember what happened to Tony Ferguson, like when he lost to Justin Gaethje, and then it was fucking downhill from that point all the way, and now he's on a 5-fight losing streak, So I'm wondering, if this is gonna happen to Kamaru Usman, because it's kind of a similar story that happened between, like, it's kind of a similar story with Usman and Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, these things can happen. I don't think that will happen.
I don't think
If
either, but
Okay, but let
it's
me know.
it's
I'll
it's, it's
answer.
not a certain thing.
I think there's a lot of listeners that would love to hear our speculation on that. So my first take on it, as a former like amateur fighter myself, so what I see is when I analyze fighters, I see that Usman, he like he outworks everybody in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he doesn't he doesn't. Tony Ferguson, okay, he hits fucking steel poles, humps rubber tires, doesn't break dance. You know, he does a lot of funky shit. You know, and it can work for a while, but when you put the amount of work that and the work ethic and his personality and his values and his behavior, his collected calmness, but like that brutal aggressivity. When you put that compared to Tony Ferguson, you have it's a world of dimension between them two.
I don't know about that.
What do you don't
I
know
don't know
about?
about that. Like, cause Tony Ferguson, he's a pretty crazy guy, and I think that he lives for this shit as well. I think it's probably the most important shit in his life. Like training and fighting. Like, he obviously lives for this shit. He loves it. You can just see about the guy. So I think that he's a pretty fucking hardworking guy as well.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I think what I'm okay, to make it more clear, I think that if you compare the two fighters in an amount of hours that they train, my guess would be that Kamaru Usman outstrained him. All right, and
Could be.
the reason why I'm saying that, if you look at the post interviews, the press conference, uh, Tony Ferguson kind of found his little niche, being a little bit quirky, a little bit alternative with his moves and breakdance and all this kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? And then, in Kamaru, wrestling, boxing, kicking, working. There's no kind of hippie attitude there, hard working, dedicated. And if you compare the number of hour of working out, I think Kamaru will win. And if you compare the passion for both, I think they will be equal. But the most important thing comes now. This is what I'm going to tell you. The most important thing is the mental stability of
Mm-hmm.
Kamaru Usman. His focus when he's being interviewed, when he's being in the press conference, he doesn't yell like a crazy person. He don't act out. He's calm, collected. He's not rude. He's respectful. He's collected. He doesn't like if you react to your emotion, then you're a slave. You will
Mm-hmm.
always be determined. Your outcome of the situation will be determined based on your reaction to your emotion.
I agree.
And that's what I see with Tony Ferguson. And that's why I say to be able to control the mind when it's a storm, out there, you got to be the captain of the ship. You can't be yelling, screaming at everybody, throwing anchors everywhere. No, you got to be calm, collected, calculated. You got to run through the storm. You don't sleep for a second, man. You're on point, and you respect the different kind of factors in the game that kind of makes you successful. And I love Tony Ferguson, man. I think he's an awesome guy, and UFC would be a big loss without him. But when it comes to Kamaru Usman, with his background, his mentality, his behavior, even the post interview he did with Joe Rogan on his podcast, he was just so relaxed and open, and he laughed so much in that show. I think he feels love. I think he feels love.
Yeah, I agree with you on this. I really think it's not even about the more training that he would do or anything like that. He actually said it on the Joe Rogan podcast, that his mind is stronger than everybody else's in the division, and that's why he's the champion. He was the champion at that time, and I think that that's definitely a point because like he's just a strong-minded person, like as you said, calm and like fucking focused, not distracted by nothing else. And this is why he's so good, I think. Same way with I would say same way with Colby Covington, though, because Colby Covington is not a crazy person. Like what he does is just purely an act. It's not like Chimaev or Tony Ferguson, like working on emotion. Like I think he just made up this persona or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's also fucking concentrated, and that's why I think he's the second best welterweight at the world.
You know, when you said that about Usman, I believe you, man. I believe you when you're saying that, because I think we're onto something here, you know. Regards to Colby Covington, of course, that's like a WWE act, you know, like when you go into the wrestling ring, you
Absolutely.
put on that persona, because when he had to like Ferguson, quirky, funny, like, you know, kind of eccentric kind of guy, and then you have like Masvidal, like he wants to be so tough in the street, tough in the street. Come on, that's just being stupid, man. If you're a smart businessman, like let's say if you're buying a soda, right? You go to the
Hmm.
shop, you buy a soda. It costs you $1, right? But it's 200 meters to the supermarket, right? But you see a gasoline station and they sell it for $2, right? So if you're standing there and then you're like, well, I have a lot of time. I fuck it. I go to the gas station to buy the soda for $2. Same soda, but just double the price. And there's no reason for you to do that, because you have time to go those 200 meters to buy it in the supermarket, but you don't.
Yeah.
What you're displaying there is the mentality of being an energy effective, or in this case, financially effective decision maker, right?
Yeah.
So if you're having to make a comparison, there is like, okay, if you do that, it's an irrational thought, because you're not in a hurry, you don't have to have it fast, you're not super thirsty, you don't need that energy, so you're just lazy, you're making bad decisions, right? And
Hmm.
that's what I want to talk about, Masvidal. You know, all eyes on him, right? And then he shows up with a hooded mask. He wants to take the guy, just beat him up. Colby Covington
Yeah.
put him,
Oh,
put on a,
that was ridiculous, man. That was absolutely ridiculous. Like,
was a
you
disgusting
know,
display of behavior.
yeah, it is certainly, and it was like definitely like a cowardly act, because he just had 25 minutes, a week before that to beat up the guy, which he couldn't do because he got his ass beat, and then now he sneaks behind him and sucker punches him. So that's absolutely ridiculous, man. And yeah, I kind of got disappointed in Masvidal, because I really thought that he's better than that.
And that shows just how bad decision making he's doing, right?
I think because he's not the smartest guy in the world, right? So I think it comes down to that as well, that he's just not an intelligent person, and he doesn't care about the consequences of his actions.
Well, I think he does now. But let's talk about,
Now maybe.
yeah. But that's, well, measuring intelligence, and like EQ, and IQ, like emotional intelligence, and intelligence of the brain, is two
Yeah,
different things, right? So I
yeah,
think we're talking about emotional intelligence here, because you know, as a father, I have children, right? So for me to get upset or to be angry, it's just a bad parenting skill, you know. I got to
mhm,
be patient, I got to be relaxed. I can't be frustrated just because I stepped on some Lego in the dark and I want to punch the wall. You know, what will that do? It will only scare the children and won't do anything good. So I need to control my emotions, at least how I react to my emotions. And when you get the shit beat out of you after being the baddest motherfucker on the planet, what do? You panic. You emotionally can't
mhm.
handle it. What do? You put on a hoodie mask, you jump from behind, you punch him in the face, and you get locked up in jail and you get excluded from the sport. And all the respect that people had from you, you lost. Because of what? He's stupid? No, he's intelligent. He was in a good place before he turned into an emotional damageable loss. And that's what
Well,
has happened. He reacted emotionally to a place where he should have taken a couple of deep breaths, went spend some time with his family, regroup his focus. Okay, why did I lose this fight? What did I
yeah,
do wrong?
absolutely. But I mean, yeah, like that's not the topic of our podcast. But I mean, I think that it has to do with intelligence, because intelligent people don't make emotional decisions that often as unintelligent people. But that's really not the topic of our podcast. So
No,
we can
I
move
think
on
it's
to something
interesting. I
else.
think like if we as people watching the MMA world have these thoughts, I think a lot of people will do. And when we're talking about intelligence, that can be measured quite easily. And I think Colby Covington is not autistic. No, no, sorry, Masvidal. I don't think he's autistic. I don't think he's
No,
on
I
the
don't think
lower.
he's autistic.
No, no. So that was just a joke. Of course, he's not autistic. All due respect. What I mean is he's not an unintelligent person. He's an intelligent person. He knows the fighting game. He's adapted, and he came to a place where he can emotionally handle it. And you see it in every kind of top profession in the world, in music, in art, and everything. When people are like, if you're opening a gallery after having
Mhm,
success after success after success, and then you open a gallery and like it's going to be the best, and nobody shows up emotionally,
mhm.
how do you process that? It's incredibly hard. Like, am I not worth anything? Like, where did I go wrong? All this kind of stuff hits you much harder than the fight. And then what do? You act out like a child. And that's what he did.
Yeah, but what I meant about intelligence is that of course you can act up like a child. There's nothing wrong with that in a way. But what I meant is that like Masvidal when he did this, it's not that like he screamed at the guy or doing anything not illegal, but he did a fucking illegal thing. And that's why I brought the intelligence to the conversation, because an intelligent person, like fucking talk about Elon Musk, he would have handled it some other way. He I don't think Elon Musk would go to Colby Covington in this situation and fucking sucker punch him. So that's why I brought in intelligence to the topic.
Yeah, I completely understand that, and I see what you mean. I think it's more of a perception on how we look at intelligence. But at the end of the day, I think what Masvidal did um, is a terrible display of a behavior from a
Yeah.
professional fighter or professional athlete. So when it comes down to it, I want to see Leon Edwards do a lot more fighting before we see any title fight between the welterweight champion and Usman, regardless who the champion is.
Mhm.
I want to see Chimaev. I want to see Gilbert Burns. I want to see Colby Covington. I want to see people like. I want to see somebody cleaning out the division, and then you want to have the big combat. I want to have people hungry, like
Mhm.
when you're in your stomach, like, oh, I need some food. Oh, there's rumbling in your stomach. That feeling, I want people to crave for the fight for Usman, because I want
Mhm.
Usman to have a perfect comeback where people like Ali in Africa fighting George Foreman. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. That kind of uh, desire from the fans, from the organizations, from the agents. I want them to drool over that fight. If you do it too fast, it's like anything else. It's not worth doing. You lose the momentum. You don't get the full effect of the buildup of it.
Yeah, man, I know what you mean.
Mm. Is there anything other exciting news these days?
Well, I wanted to discuss the upcoming Adesanya fight with you, because
Well,
that's
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be a
that's true.
fucking interesting fight, between Adesanya and Alex Pereira.
What do you think about it,
Um,
man? He's fighting his nemesis, right?
well, it's gonna be an interesting fight because like Pereira, he already beat him twice in kickboxing, and first fight it was a decision, and people say it was a robbery. I honestly didn't watch the fight, but the second fight I watched, and Adesanya was kind of beating him in the second fight, until he got knocked out. Because Pereira just caught him with, I think it was a left hook, and Adesanya just got fucking flattened, and and then that's the story, So
Yeah.
it makes it really interesting, this upcoming fight.
Does Adesanya's opponent Pereira, does he have any MMA record?
Well, he's 6-1, I think. He's 6-1 in MMA, and like that
Which
that one
organization do you
loss, it
know?
came like early in his career because he's a kickboxer, so he didn't have any ground game. So I think it was a submission, a submission loss, but that was like years ago. And
Which organization has he been doing it?
was that?
What organization has he been fighting for?
I think he was a Glory kickboxer. He was fighting for Glory.
What
Yeah.
his MMA career? Where has he been doing the fighting? Has it been in
I,
UFC?
I honestly I honestly don't know that.
Is
I
this
honestly
his
don't
first
know.
fight in
But
the
he
UFC?
came to the UFC like very early. Like he came to the UFC with a record of 3-1, I think, and now he's 6-1. So like he
He had
won
like
three
three
fights.
fights in the UFC.
Was that?
He's had about 3 fights in the UFC.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he won like of course he gets this title shot like like very very fast because. Yeah, he only beat one ranked fighter. Actually, it was Sean Strickland. He beat Sean Strickland. Okay, I mean he knocked him out in the first round. But I think it's still early. To give him the title shot. But it
Well,
is what it
Strickland,
is,
he's
and I
a
think
tough
people
mother.
really want to see it.
Yeah. But Strickland is a tough fighter, though.
Oh, he is for sure. Yeah, but I think he
He
made
was
a big
fighting
mistake in that fight.
Jack the Joker Hermanson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Jack
but I
lost.
think Strickland, like he made a very big mistake in the Alex Pereira fight, because he didn't try to wrestle him or anything. He was just like standing in front of him and throwing hands. You cannot really do that with a fucking world champion kickboxer, because you're gonna get knocked out,
With
man.
those gloves. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Strickland should have wrestled him, try to mix it up a little bit, like striking and wrestling, just to make him confused, and then he would have had a better chance to win that fight. But he didn't do that, and now Pereira gets the title shot because of that. Otherwise, it would have been Strickland, which would be a fun fight with Adesanya as well.
Yeah, I think Adesanya has been cleaning out the division for a long time now. So they're like, I think that also can be a reason why Pereira is getting our fight so early because where's the opponents, right?
Yeah, he fucking cleaned out the division already. I mean, like
Yeah.
beat Robert Whittaker twice. He beat Marvin Vettori twice. He beat Paulo Costa. There is really no one else.
Romero, yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, didn't he fight the Spider as well?
yeah. He fought him as well. But yeah, that was.
Yeah, so he's
I
been
watched that
fighting through the
fight.
whole
I watched
division,
that
and
fight. That wasn't the most exciting fight,
no,
and
but still, it's a win, and he puts it in his pocket, and he had a lot of
yeah,
respect from Silva, so it's okay. It's nothing to. But I think yeah, that could be a reason because he's been cleaning out the division, so they're like, okay, give him 3 fights and then throw him into the fucking.
mm,
But again, with the mentality of the fighter, it's so interesting to see how fast it can change from being on the top of the world to not, right? What you saw with Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards, Leon Edwards' life will never be the same just because of that 1 minute or because of those 24 first minutes
yeah,
or because of
yeah. I mean,
the
that
long.
absolutely changed his life, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
that's
that's
one
what we
hundred
see.
percent.
That's what we see. That's what we're seeing. Like, but he's accumulated a lot of skills and had a lot of upsets and bad luck through his career. But what we see is
Yeah,
like all change in 1 minute. It's like seeing a musician. You see him play for 2 minutes, like Carlos Santana playing the guitar. Wow, it's amazing 2 minutes. Well, he's acquired a whole lifetime building that skill, right?
mm,
But what I wanted to say is that to finish it off is that Pereira has a win over him, and it's not just like referee decision. He had a knockout
yeah,
win, and when you have a
yeah,
fighter that's knocked you out, either way, it doesn't matter. I remember from my amateur career, there were like guys that have been fought early and they won, and when I met them like 3 4 years later and I'm on top of my game, they still was a bigger chip on my shoulder because I wanted to take them. And it
yeah,
interfered with my mentality of just loving the game and just letting myself go the way that I should have done. I was more tense. I was thinking more consequences. I was not
yeah,
focusing properly. I was getting more emotional influenced in the fight and the build up and whole thing. So that's going to be an interesting factor because we see that plays a big role. Like Masvidal and all these people, they can lose it in a split of a second. Just it's so strong emotions in us, right? These
Yeah, man. But I think it's gonna be like definitely a good fight because like when Adesanya fought Jared Cannonier the last time, and I think that was a fight, that didn't make any fucking sense because Jared Cannonier is he's not a good wrestler, and he's not as good as a striker as Adesanya, So like there was like basically no way for Jared Cannonier to win this fight, like apart from a lucky punch, right?
Yeah.
But skill wise, he couldn't have won that fight, and like the thing is with Pereira, he can win this fight actually because he can outpoint Adesanya, and he can also knock him out.
Yeah.
Not just with a lucky punch, but he can actually, he actually has the skill to do that. So I think like Izzy has a little bit of problem with this matchup. But
yeah, I think so too.
you think like Izzy is gonna use his wrestling in this match by any chance, or he's gonna
If I
stick
should
with the
predict
striking?
anything, if I do my Mystic Mac prediction, I would say that Adesanya is gonna stand off with him, do some creative standing techniques or situations, spinning something, doing some creative stuff like John Jones style. But at the end of it, he's gonna take him down and gonna do his groundwork and get a submission out of him.
Mm-hmm.
That's my prediction for the fight, though.
That would be interesting, man.
What do you think? How do you think it will be ended? Either way,
Man, like this one is really hard to predict. It's really really fucking hard to predict. But I would say that Adesanya is just gonna try to knock him out. The same way I think, like probably try to mix it up a little bit with the wrestling, but eventually he tries to get the KO. This is what I think. And the same way for Pereira. Like maybe Pereira won't try to wrestle him, but just go for the KO. Adesanya maybe does a little bit wrestling, but he will go for the KO as well. This is how I see it.
I think we're gonna see like a Conor McGregor and Khabib fight. Khabib standing up with Conor McGregor, not rushing in takedowns, anything. And then Conor's been focusing so much on protecting the takedowns and all this kind of stuff. And then he hits him on the chin, puts him on his ass, and then it just mauls him on the ground. That's my prediction for the fight. Adam, thank you so much for the talk today. And I look forward to seeing the fight. And have a good one, buddy.
Yeah, you too, man. It's always a pleasure. All right.